So I think we can start. Ladies and gentlemen, hello, hello, as we say in Germany, because this is a German-Greek panel. I'm Dimitra Kyranoudi. I'm the director of the Greek department of Deutsche Welle, based in Berlin, political correspondent as well. And we are here today with our three distinguished guests to discuss about the security challenges and cooperation in Europe, and of course to share the perspectives coming from Greece and Germany. So next to me is Mr. Nathanael Liminski. He is the Minister of Federal European Affairs and International Relations and Media of the federal state of the North Rhine-Westphalia, one of the most important, I would say, states in Germany, with a very lively Greek community as well. So we also have the pleasure to have today with us Mr. Konstantinos Arvanitopoulos. He is the General Director of Konstantinos Karamanlis Foundation, and Marian, Wendt, Director of the Konrad Adenauer Foundation Office for Greece and Cyprus. And time flies, so let me start from what's going on today in Germany, in Berlin. Germany has finally a government, actually an agreement for a coalition government. So I would start with you, Mr. Liminski. What are the challenges from this government that took some time to get, let's say, formed?
First of all, hello to everybody. In comparison to other European states or countries, it was rather fast to build a government under circumstances like that. We haven't gotten a new government so far. The Chancellor still has to be elected in Parliament, which will take place probably around May 7th or 8th. So it would be a very symbolic date, actually. But now it looks all pretty well, because the next 2 weeks the parties are going to use in order to talk to their bases. The Social Democrats still have a vote on that by their members, but it's likely to be positive. And then we actually have a new government. Concerning the challenges, I mean, these are the challenges we all face in Europe altogether, about security and defense, about competitiveness, but also about migration, which still is a big issue in Germany. And so these things the new government now has to tackle. You have to know that although there's a lot of applause from outside Germany, especially among the European member states, the political debate in Germany itself is rather critical. It's because of the exemptions from the debt brake, which Friedrich Merz took right from the beginning on. I think it's good to do so in order to really be able to handle or to face the historic challenges we are in. But there's a lot of criticism for that in his own party and also in other parties. And that's why we now have to work on having a solid fundament and a solid basis for this new government, and especially for this new chancellor.
Mm-hmm. And talking about the chancellor-to-be, the chancellor-in-waiting, as we call him in Germany, Friedrich Merz, he said a few hours ago that Germany is back. That was a clear message to Donald Trump, to the US administration. And Mr. Wendt, I would like a comment. Is Germany back? What does this mean? And where was actually Germany during all these years?
I think, okay, Mr. Merz was the opposition leader. He was head of the CDU party, and of course the Ampel coalition and the traffic light coalition, they brought 3.5 bad years for Germany. We have a third year in a row a recession. We have challenges regarding our security. We have challenges in Europe, and they haven't been fulfilled. So what Friedrich Merz tried to work, and I think this is why people have elected the CDU and the new government, is that Germany should be back on a track, that we get back in our infrastructure, that we fix our bridges, that we fix our military stuff, our personnel, that we get independent from the questions how the United States should protect us. This is important for us. We cannot get back by asking, and Germany's back means not getting back in a way that we need back under the umbrella or protection of the US. No, it means coming back in Europe, develop a strong Europe, a leadership position in Europe, and this is what he means. And I think we should now, as we have the coalition treaty agreement today in present and paper and also digital, of course, we should keep this motivation and should really work on it, because this treaty and this coalition can just work if everyone in the government, in the societies and in our countries itself, as we're sitting here, work on that together. If everyone argues and has a negative opinion all the time and say, oh, no, we cannot do it, we will not get back on track, we cannot solve our military problems, our infrastructure, our education stuff, our digitalization, we can talk about it negatively every day, but that will not change our position in Europe. And so I would call and plead that we take this phrase, Germany is back, in also in a way that Europe is back, and we go now forward and fix the problems we all have discussed during this forum here in Delphi.
Mm-hmm. And I would like also a comment from you, Mr. Arvanitopoulos. What does Europe expect from the new German government in these really turbulent and crazy, as I may say, times that we experience?
I think it's a positive fact that we have a German government that was formed rather quickly, and Europe needs a strong Germany. Germany and France have, after all, been the two main forces of European integration. So in this environment of global challenges, we need a strong Germany. Not only we need a strong Germany, but I think it's positive that we see a paradigm shift in Germany's defense policy. Not only its posturing, but the fact that it has exempted from the very strict budgetary constraints the area of defense. I do believe that is positive in view of the challenges that European security is facing today. So I welcome this, the formation of the new government, and I think Germany has a very pivotal role to play in the formation of the new European security architecture.
Mm-hmm. And Mr. Liminski, what that role could be more specifically? Germany has already started, let's say, implementing radical reforms in the security sector, in defense, a huge package of 500 billion euros will be destined in the next years for massive investments on crucial infrastructure, but also on the defense. What are the challenges for Germany next year?
The challenge, as my predecessor already said, is that it's a total shift in all the way we have organized it so far. Taking the defense industry, for example, so far we have developed very little numbers for certain systems of weapons, and it always there were always restrictions by the budget. Now we need more systems and bigger numbers, and we are not ready to do so. So the question would be how to organize it right from the beginning on in a European way. That's at least how I wish it to become. And of course there are some on short notice, we will need some American systems like the F-35, for example, like Greece. But on the long run, I would love to see the research being done, the development being done, and also the production being done in Europe. As we have seen it with Airbus and other examples, it's possible if we want to do so. This is about the defense area. Concerning the infrastructure, I mean, 500 billion euros, it sounds big and it's a huge amount of money, but you have to know it's for 12 years and 400 of it to the federal state, 100 billion to the states. And if you divide it up, it's still a lot of money, but it's not that it will change the whole course of Germany. And what we are working on now as state governments is that we really get it done, that we don't show big amount of money now, and afterwards with German bureaucracy avoid that this money is actually being spent so that streets, bridges, schools and other things are actually being built. And then we also have to use it. I mean, concerning Ukraine, we always talk about build back better. Now, concerning facing different challenges, we have to use the money, for example, when it comes to infrastructure, to improve the critical infrastructure also from a military point of view. I mean, we have many bridges where no tank can ever cross, and so we have to combine the two issues, as you said, infrastructure and security interests. And I'm optimistic because there is this discussion already running, and there's also a discussion about modernization of the state. There we can learn also from Greece concerning digitization. There are other things where we probably won't learn too much from Greece, to be honest, but there are fields in which we can show now that we can reform ourselves, and it's necessary in order to make an actual use of this amount of money, because the political situation, as I said, in Germany is critical. The extreme parties still gain support, even more than with the elections. And this is why I think to fight extremism and radical parties, the best way to do it is to show that you are actually able to govern.
And why is the state of NRW, North Rhine-Westphalia, so important for the EU defense? Can you give us some numbers or some facts concerning defense industries or military bases that are?
Of course. Well, this first reason is as we are located in the very heart of Europe and along critical roads, we are concerning logistics in any scenario, whether it comes from the west concerning training, or it comes from the east concerning facing a threat, NRW or North Rhine-Westphalia is always in a crucial position. So that's why this infrastructure has to be fixed. And second, concerning defense industry, we claim to be the industrial base of the Zeitenwende. And for example, we are proud home to Rheinmetall, whom everyone knows, I'm optimistic that Rheinmetall, together with others like Leonardo and others, can actually develop into a European champion in defense industry, which we will need in order to fix our military in all over Europe. But it's not just Rheinmetall. You also have the whole Mittelstand, which for the time being was concentrated mostly on automotive, but there are many, many companies, businesses, which change right now their production lane in order to be part of this investment plan concerning defense industries. So and then you also have the whole research part to it. We have many, many big universities like RWTH Aachen, but others as well, where there will be research critical for this rearmament of Europe.
And I would like to also see with you, Mr. Arvanitopoulos, this topic also as far as Greece is concerned. Greece has a new plan to modernize its armed forces. The next years, it's a 12-year strategy plan, let's say. We're talking about investments around 25 billion euros after years of stagnation, after years of financial crisis. What would this mean in practice for the EU rearm project?
First of all, let me say that Greece has always maintained very high defense expenditures. We were always spending more for defense for obvious reasons, because we faced a threat from the east, from Turkey. And so in the context of burden sharing within NATO, Greece never faced this question mark or this problem. And that's one thing. And I do think that Greece will, coming out of this economic crisis, will double down on defense expenditures, as the government has already indicated, not only to renew its armed forces, but also to participate in the new European effort within the formation of the new European defensive security architecture. Now, what is of concern to Greece, of course, is that this new European security architecture is taking place within the European institutions. The alliance of the willing and the and all that, these are positive trends and developments, but I think for Greece it is important that the new European security architecture takes place within the European institutions. Secondly, Greece is facing a number of challenges. Because Greece is a small nation state, it belongs to international organizations and international fora, but like every small nation state, it always dependent upon the rule of law, upon the international legal system and the international institutional system. And what we are witnessing these days is has no historical precedent. That a global power, or an imperial power in the past, would append the world order that it put into place without having lost a major war or without having been in a serious decline. And this returns us to a balance of power kind of international system. And for small nation states, this is not the right environment. It's an environment that presents many security challenges. So Greece depends upon the European Union, but Greece has also other challenges to face in a very difficult area in a very difficult geopolitical area that resides. So we have a double responsibility, fulfill our institutional requirements within Europe, but also provide our citizens with the security and defense facing all these challenges that we have traditionally faced.
And Mr. Wendt, how does Germany conceives or analyzes the role of Greece in the region, southeastern Mediterranean, from a security policy perspective? How important is Greece for Germany?
First we have to say that German society, German politicians be aware of security topics and defense topics just in the last 3 or 4 years. Germany himself felt, oh, we are surrounded by friends, we're living on an island in Europe where nothing can happen, we can reduce our military. In the 90s, everyone said the Cold War is over, we don't need military service anymore, we can reduce the Bundeswehr, the army, and so on. And since the last 3-4 years, with the Russian invasion in Ukraine, people and politics and the government recognize we need to do something. Security should be on a very high topic in the politician, and we need the Zeitenwende first. Then, now we see there are countries within the European Union who have working on security topics on a very high level since ever. And Greece is one of the countries, together with Cyprus, who have been working on this topic because of their geographical position. Yeah, Greece is not surrounded by just friends. Yeah, it's in a difficult situation with Turkey, with the Balkan neighbors, with Libya, with the Near East close as its neighbors. And so I think lots of Germans, politicians, decision makers, governmental officials are coming now to Greece and have a look, what can we learn? What is the situation? Because most of the factors which bring instability and which raises problems to our security came from this region, not Greece, but the Near and Middle East, migration, terrorism, etc. And so we should speak with Greece. What's going on here? What is your view? How are your information traditionally, which you have? And what can we learn also in technical developments? When I talk about technical development, we know since the war in Ukraine that now we have a shift in the question of what kind of tactics we use. The drone topic. Yeah, Greece is very good now in this drones topic. They're developing own drones. So let's talk about this. But if we talk about Greece, and Germany is very interested also to take Greece deeper in the European cooperation. Up until now, Greece has seen himself and his strong military as a thing we need to have to protect our own against Turkey and threats in the region. I think what we should try to do is to bring Greece closer in a European military framework, but also Greece can take responsibilities with all the equipment they have. We talk about 500 Leopard 1, 300 Leopard 2, all his knowledge and all of the soldiers, they could be used also in the European framework, and that could be on both ways very positive, could end in positive results by supporting Greece in its achievements, but also by using the Greece military equipment, the modernization we've spoken in the European defense framework, and this is important to see Greece much more as we have seen it in the past, as a reliable partner regarding security issues.
As reliable partner regarding security issues within EU, but also within NATO. And Mr. Arvanitopoulos, I would like to stick a bit on the new phase of the transatlantic relations, and after the Trump's inauguration, and after, I would say, this year's Munich Security Council, where do we stand today? Is it a major rupture or a new, let's say, chapter, a wake-up call, some may say?
The incoming Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, in an interview, I believe, a couple of weeks ago, he mentioned that it is highly uncertain that we can still talk about NATO as we knew it. And if we look at the Trump's administration declarations and policies these couple of months, we see a couple of things. The most important, I believe, is the fact that the Trump administration, for the very first time, has cast doubt on NATO's collective defense provision, on Article 5. In February, the United States sided with Russia against every NATO member in the United Nations, blocking a resolution condemning Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Then we have the recent statements from the Trump administration regarding Canada, Greenland, Denmark, both member states of NATO. We've seen the willingness of the current administration to abandon the position of Sakher, the first time after Adenauer. And I do believe that all these things, and together with Trump's rhetoric during his first term that NATO is obsolete and outdated and all that, is what forced Congress to enact legislation that the US president cannot unilaterally decide to withdraw from NATO. But even that is doubtful because if the current administration decides to forgo Congress and to go against this law, it is doubtful that the Supreme Court would legislate against such a decision, because traditionally the United States Supreme Court deferred foreign affairs matter to the executive rather than Congress. So you have a situation that, together with Trump's comments about the European Union, have led to a feeling of decoupling of the transatlantic space. And of course have started this debate here in Europe about the need for a new European security architecture. Now, one can accept that there is some merit to the argument about burden sharing, that the US administration, and not only Trump, since the 60s, I think, from the Kennedy administration, there have been questions about burden sharing, and I think they bear some merit. We've been free riders for a long time here in Europe. But the truth of the matter is that every European member state of NATO have increased its budget to meet the standards even posed by the new US administration. But beyond burden sharing, we have to face a possibility by which the United States have lost its geopolitical interest in the European continent. And that is pushing Europe to see its options. Now, this new security European architecture, I believe, needs three elements. The first one is money, and this we have dealt with. We have decided to increase our budget, and with the recent decision on the part of the European Commission to exempt defense expenditures from budgetary constraints, I think the European Union has provided the answer to this dilemma. The second is time. And this is because the European security, for a long period of time, throughout the Cold War and beyond, was dependent upon the American security umbrella. And despite the fact that Chancellor Merkel warned us during the first Trump administration that we Europeans have to take our fate in our own hands, and then we went on to declare this dogma, this doctrine of security, autonomy security, right? We did very little. And so to go from security dependence to security autonomy, you need time. And you need time because the United States, for all these years, in order to provide Europe with its security umbrella, requested from Europe to integrate its military structures within NATO. And so we need time to come up with our own structures, with our own security culture, with our own operational culture, with our own defense industry that will require mergers and so on and so forth. And so time is of essence here. And the third element has to do with US cooperation. If we need to move slowly to European security autonomy, we need to do that in cooperation with the United States. Because every decision on the part of the United States to hastily abandon the European security and the European continent will leave us with very grave challenges because we are not ready, as I just said. Now, how do you come to an agreement with this US administration? I think that, to use a Trump term, you can strike a new grand bargain, a new deal, which is, I will raise, as Europe, my defense expenditures. I will assume greater operational responsibilities. I will assume more positions of importance and decision-making power, such as the position of the SACEUR that the Americans want to abandon. And in that sense, the United States, will be able to pivot to Asia. I think we need, having mentioned all the rhetoric coming from the Trump administration, to do this kind of security autonomy on our part in a coordinated fashion. Because if the United States decides to hastily abandon NATO, to hastily abandon our defense security apparatus and architecture, will create grave challenges for us that we are not ready yet to meet.
And you mentioned Angela Merkel and her wish Europe to take its fate in its own hands some years ago. My question to you, Mr. Liminski, is that why Germany hasn't succeeded so far to take, I would say, Europe's fate in its own hands, meaning a leading role in the EU. We know that Germany wants to take this step forward and play a leading role within EU. Other countries or other global players may not wish, that. What do you think?
First of all, there is a tradition in German politics to be reluctant and hesitating when it comes to political and especially military leadership. And there are good reasons to it. I mean, look at our history. And I don't want to abandon this kind of sensitiveness when it comes to using weapons. I think it's good that German politicians are not as eager to have them being used weapons. So this is the first reason to it. Second is, of course, I mean, being leading means also taking critical decisions and also facing the consequences of it. I mean, look at the United States. Being leading concerning military means that there are coffins coming back home with dead soldiers. And this is an issue you have to stand as a society. And I mean, I have served in our Ministry of Defense as a speechwriter, writing speeches for soldiers coming back dead from Afghanistan. And I have been there when there was the commemoration ceremonies. That was always a hard time for the Secretary of Defense to talk about that in German public and to explain it, why it's necessary. And so, I mean, German public, German society was used to being important somehow, getting the advantages, but not facing the consequences. And so that are two reasons why leadership did not sound so attractive to many Germans in the last years. Now I see that there is more and more consciousness that it's necessary, because if you look at the critical circumstances for the wealth which we have in Germany, it's the cheap energy from Russia, it's the security guarantees from the United States, and it was the rather secure market in China. And all the three of them are gone. So this means that if we want to keep the welfare we have to find another way to do it. And fortunately, among the political middle, there is a big and a strong conviction that Europe is the way to do it, and that it's in our interest that we have a strong Europe. And I see, for example, the fulfillment of the common market as one aim where we as Germans could lead in order to implement the common market also in areas where we haven't done it so far, concerning energy, concerning telecommunication, concerning the financial market. They are all fields where we could work much closer together, integrated in Europe, having an advantage, all of us, and it would be also good in the German perspective. And but this could also mean leadership. It's not just military, but there is still a change going on. Using weapons, but now even making or taking debt money for buying and developing weapons. This is a huge shift in the political landscape in Germany.
Mr. Wendt, could or should Germany take more military action in Ukraine the next years under Friedrich Merz, sending even German troops, the Bundeswehr, in Ukraine?
This is a debate which should be discussed if the question is on the floor. If there is a kind of draft of peace agreement between Ukraine, Russia, the Americans, what happens in Saudi Arabia, which has been negotiated. Of course, I want to say in general, Europe needs to be part of this kind of peace negotiations. And of course, we will have a stance. We cannot just look from the sidelines. And we need to do everything which is necessary to stabilize the Ukraine for military reasons, economical reasons, to build up a safe zone. Because if we lose Ukraine, and if Ukraine lose this war, then we will face much bigger problems. So we have to take responsibility, and we have to discuss all these topics. That doesn't mean 100% that soldiers of the German Bundeswehr needs to go, or our countries, Greece, France, etc., needs to go to Ukraine. But we need to talk about all possibilities, which are maybe a necessity.
And since we don't have much time left, actually, a last question for all three of you. Who do you think is nowadays the major enemy for the EU? Is it actually Russia? Is it China? Or is it Donald Trump? Or another fourth player I would mention here, the far right, a danger within EU. Mr. Liminski?
Okay, well, that's a good question. I mean, concerning our societies, I think it's the far right, but this is something we can solve ourselves. Concerning foreign policy, I think I'm clear that, to me, it's clear that it's Russia with its very aggressive agenda. But being honest, for this shift in European politics, we haven't done it facing the aggressive attacks by Russia. We have done it just now with the shock of our former ally from the United States, which does not lead me to claim them to be enemies, just to make that clear. I think we have to be very cautious not to get into an anti-American sentiment, but to stay focused.
And a quick answer for you, Mr. Arvanitopoulos. China, Russia.
Give me 1 second. Two small comments on something that Mr. Liminski mentioned before, that has to do with the dilemma that we may face in the coming days, and between warfare and welfare. And I think this should be something that every European nation state would be very careful in tackling. The new challenges that we face in security do not have to lead us to sacrifices in our welfare, society, and economy. The second the second comment has to do with Greece's challenges in the new environment, and I think there is an opportunity also for Greece to develop its Greek defense industry that has suffered over the years due to our own problematic handling of that. Now, to your comment, it reminds me of de Gaulle's all-azimuth strategy, in the sense that we are facing a revisionist Russia, the United States that is abandoning Europe and leading us to a decoupling, and also that leads us to a trade war, and also the challenges that we face with China. I think that these are multi-challenges for Europe, and this is the opportunity for Europe to rise to the occasion. I do believe in Europe, and I think that we have to face all these three challenges together, but we have to face them united. And what is of concern is that we see the rise of extremism within Europe itself, and we see this posing an obstacle to European unity. Mm-hmm. So we don't only have to face external challenges, but we have to face also our domestic challenges that have to do with rise of extremism. So it's all of the above, but it's the time that we rise to the occasion.
Mm-hmm. And last but not least?
I honestly have to say it's fear. We have fear, like we're sitting in front of a snake and we see Trump, we see China, we see Russia, and we see right-wing populism, and we are shocked. And we need to overcome this shock and this fear to be strong. We are 450 million. We could have the biggest market in the world. Of course we can be responsible for our own security. We can be the biggest trading partner. We could develop the best digital products in the next step. But we need to do it, and we need to we have the opinion to do it. And this is what I'm missing, and this is what we need to come back. This has to do, okay, with the demographic situation, because we're not a young age societies, we are more the older age societies, which have usually a negative forecast. But we need to overcome this and to overcome our fear and to look positive in front. And then we could, I think, face all these challenges. And this is my maybe hopefully positive approach for this night and for this end of the first day of Delphi Forum.
Thank you very much for this interesting discussion that gave us some hints to navigate into this new world, I would say. Thank you very much.